Okay, today we're going to talk about two basic, highly accessible alignment drills that anyone can do when starting on learning their hand balancing, or that can be useful at different times in your handstand practice to help tighten up and improve the position of your handstand. The idea with having the position in the handstand is that if we place the center of mass, the majority of our weight, over our hands, the base of support, in a more or less vertical or straight fashion, it's easier to control the balance. It's more efficient. It's less taxing on the shoulders, the hands, etc. So when doing these drills, it's important to think about that we want to prioritize the position that we're practicing, not how long are we holding, how many sets are we getting. That comes after. First form, then we can build quantity. So quality over quantity, very important thing to keep in mind. With these drills, we're going to be practicing the position that we're aiming for in our torso over the long run when we're practicing our freestanding handstands. Now the reality is no matter how much you do this, it won't give you a perfect line in the middle of the room, but it'll give you a frame of reference, a bit of conditioning and work capacity, and a general understanding and terminology, an embodied sense, a felt sense of what some of the things that we need to be doing when we're in our handstand, what they feel like. So that's some context about these exercises. So the first exercise is called a backline drill. So you lay on your back, and you're going to have a bit of an arch in your low back, naturally. And the first thing you want to do is you want to push your low back into the ground. That's called a posterior pelvic tilt. And it can be a good idea just to do that a few times before you start the drill. Push your low back into the ground, relax. Push your low back into the ground, relax. Okay, so step one, push my low back into the ground. Step two, I'm going to pull my rib cage down. And when I do that, it lifts my head and shoulders off the floor just a little bit. So now I have my low back touching the ground, a bit of my mid and back on the ground, and then my upper back is just slightly off the ground, my head's off the ground. Step two, grab your stick, try to snap it. See, I'm twisting my arms out, and I'm putting tension through the stick. So try to snap the stick, lock the elbows, and then push the stick away from you a little bit. Okay, good. From here, put your feet up right above your hips, point your toes, lock your knees, and squeeze your legs together. Make sure you keep the position of the lower back. And if that's too easy, you just lower the arms and legs until you get to a height that is a good challenge for you while you can still maintain the form. Now, if I lower my arms and legs and I lose the position of my back, you need to come back to the progression you were at and practice with good form. If you don't have the flexibility to do it with straight legs when your feet are right above your hips, you can bend the knees, and over time, you'll get where you can straighten them as your mobility improves. This isn't exactly the drill to improve your hamstring mobility, but as you do other work that opens up the hamstrings, you'll be able to hold that position. A few notes about the breathing. The breathing will be more shallow because you have a lot of pressure through your abdomen, so you can't really breathe deep into your belly. So you have all this pressure that you're holding, and then the breathing happens up in your rib cage, and it's a bit more shallow and will be a bit more frequent. Nothing to worry about. Don't get too fixated on trying to breathe deeply when you're holding a handstand or practicing these drills. Just think about the form and make sure you're breathing in and out enough to just stay conscious. Don't pass out. Okay. The next drill is called a frontline drill. We're going to have the same position with our torso, but we're going to lay on our belly, feet stay on the ground. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to feel with your hand, you're going to have that arch still. And what you want to do is you want to posteriorly tilt your pelvis, which takes the arch out of the back. Now I have a nice flat lower back. But you want to do it without lifting the hips up. You see, this is something else. So I just want to posteriorly tilt my pelvis. I pull my ribs in. And then from here, while I'm pulling my ribs in, I'm pulling my belly in, I have a posterior pelvic tilt. I'm going to squeeze my glutes really, really hard, right? You see, I squeeze my butt. Then I bring my legs together, lock my knees, keep the position with my back, take my stick, and lift it. If that's easy, you can straighten the arms. It's a pretty hard little exercise, but it's worthwhile for your handstands. The same ideas apply here about the breathing and about if you go to the next progression and you lose the form, go back, practice good form. Over time, you'll get the strength to do it with straight arms. Same thing if you're trying to say do it for 45 seconds and at 35 seconds you lose the form, it's better to stop, rest, take a minute or a few seconds, maybe 15 seconds, and then finish the rest of your set with good form. Quality over quantity, because the positions we practice here are what we want to bring into our handstand practice in the middle of the room. So it's important to understand what it feels like on the ground if you want to understand what it's going to be like upside down. Much simpler here because I'm not worried about balancing. I can just practice the position. Okay, that'll be all for the day. It was the backline drill and the frontline drill.